Hi. So I'm going to talk about history today. I think a lot of us tend to think of history, reading about history, as something really boring. But it's not history that's boring, right? History is by its very nature interesting. It's people doing things, it's action, it's things happening that change the course of the world. And so the four books that I have for you today are going to make history very interesting for you. They're all biographies, which, as you know, is the story of a person's life. And these are all, the four that I have for you today are very entertaining. You won't be able to put them down. And as you're learning about this person's life, you'll learn about the period of history in which that person lived. So the first one I have for you today is called Charles and Emma, The Darwin's Leap of Faith by Deborah Heiligman. So I'm going to ask you a question. How would you deal with this situation if the person that you decided to marry had a complete opposite opinion about religion from you? As in, one person believes deeply in God and goes to church every Sunday, and the other person isn't sure he believes in God at all. In fact, not only does he not believe in God, he thinks he's hit upon a theory that is about to turn all of Victorian society and all of science upside down, the theory of evolution. This is what the Darwins had to deal with. They had a very long marriage, but they believed completely opposite on this one point. Emma Darwin believed that she was going to go to heaven one day, but she believed that Charles was not, that he was going to go to hell. The Darwins had a couple of children that died, like many people of the time, and Emma believed that one day she would see them again in heaven. Charles didn't think he would ever see them again at all. And Emma managed to be supportive throughout their entire marriage and his career. She was his first editor. She read all his books, the first person to read them before they were published. And even though she disagreed with the basic premise of them, the things that Darwin, as I said, the things that he was writing about were going to shake the entire Victorian society, and he had a lot of people very angry at him, and that was another difficult thing that she had to deal with. How faithful do you think you would be able to be in this situation for love? Would you be able to stay faithful to your spouse if you believed so differently? Do you think that Emma Darwin tried to convert Charles, or did she just let him believe his own thing? So that's our first book, and from slightly serious, we're going to go to over-the-top outrageous. We've got The Great and Only Barnum, The Tremendous, Stupendous Life of Showman P.T. Barnum by Candace Fleming. So let me set this scene for you. It's 1881. We're in Madison Square Garden in New York City, the enormous stadium. 9,000 people are under one roof in the dark, and then suddenly, pow, the electric lights go on. The first time that electric lights have been used in a circus before. And in front of the people, there are three rings. P.T. Barnum invented the three-ring circus, which has three different shows going on at one time that then rotate so everyone can see everything close up. And all at once we've got giraffes, tightrope walkers, lions, and Jumbo, the largest elephant in captivity, who, by the way, was the source of the word jumbo, which means large today. When the circus went on the road, it was even bigger. It spread over 5 acres and could fit 20,000 people under its roof. And besides the big tent, there were also sideshows where you could go in and see all kinds of other things. So in the sideshows, there was the fattest woman, the tallest man, Tom Thumb, Charles Tripp, a man with no arms who could paint, hammer, and even serve tea with his feet, English Jack, who swallowed frogs, Lucia Zarate, the smallest adult alive at only 20 inches and 5 pounds. Today we feel uncomfortable gawking at people who are different from us, but back then it was all part of the greatest show on earth. The next book I'm going to talk about for you is The Notorious Benedict Arnold, A True Story of Adventure, Heroism, and Treachery by Steve Sheinkin. So this is a real adventure book. It's very exciting, and I'm going to again set the scene for you. It's May 30th, 1779, and General Benedict Arnold of the American side has sent a message to the British side via a messenger. It's a secret message, and in it he says that he wants to switch sides, that he wants to leave the Americans and go over to the British. So the British were completely shocked. They had a whole list of people that they wanted to bribe or to buy over and bring over to their side. They never thought that the great Benedict Arnold could be bought. And they were thrilled. So they started this relationship. He became a spy. And this is really the stuff that James Bond movies are made of. Arnold and his wife began writing these messages in secret code that they would send, and it was written in invisible ink and could only be seen when exposed to heat. So why did he do this? First of all, he did receive, the deal was that he was going to receive 20,000 English pounds, which is the equivalent of $3 million today, and his mission was to infiltrate West Point, a fort on the Hudson River, and report back to the British. And why did he do it? Was it just for the money? We think that it wasn't. We think that he was bitter because he hadn't received the promotions from George Washington at the exact moment that he wanted them, that he was a bit of an egomaniac. He was someone who held a grudge. He was a bit of a loose cannon. So there are all these different reasons. And another thing that the book tells us and that we talk about, and I'm going to quote the book here, if Arnold had died from his wounds at the Battle of Saratoga, we would think of him today as one of our all-time great American heroes. Aside from Washington, we'd say, he did more to win our revolution than anyone. We'd celebrate his life as one of the best action stories we have. Instead, he became America's most famous traitor. So this is a great, exciting action book. And the last book I'm going to present today, the last biography, is called Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice by Philip Hoos. What if you did something really brave, really hard to do, really courageous, something that no one else had the guts to do, that then changed the course of history and the social movement forever after? That's what Claudette Colvin did, and everyone forgot about her a couple of years later. We've all heard about Rosa Parks, who gave up her seat in Montgomery, Alabama who did not give up her seat for a white woman and was arrested, and that really sparked the movement as we've been told about it. The truth is that was part of an orchestrated movement, and a year before her, a 15-year-old girl named Claudette did the same thing. She refused to give up her seat on a bus, and she wasn't told to do this by anyone. She did it because she was angry, and she was arrested. And what she did set everything that came after it in motion. Here's what she says here's what she said later about what happened that day on the bus. The motorman pointed at me. I heard him say, "That's nothing new. I've had trouble with that thing before." He called me a thing. They came to me and stood over me, and one said, "Aren't you going to get up?" I said, "No, sir." He shouted, "Get up again." I started crying, but I felt even more defiant. I kept saying over and over in my high-pitched voice, "It's my constitutional right to sit here as much as that lady. I paid my fare. It's my constitutional right." I knew I was talking back to a white policeman, but I had had enough. After she was released on bail from jail, because she went to jail for this, her reverend said to her, "Claudette, I'm so proud of you. I think you just brought the revolution to Montgomery." So why don't we know her name today? Why don't we know more about her? She made a terrible mistake after this that made her less than the picture-perfect media image that the social justice movement wanted. And 60 years later, this reporter, Philip Hoos, did the research and the work to bring her the recognition that she deserves. So these are our 4 books today. I think there is something here for everyone, and I hope you enjoy them.